A clean heart create for me, O God, and a steadfast spirit renew within me. Thus we sang in the responsorial psalm as we continue to ask our Lord to help us be converted, to have a change of heart. Lent, as we were reminded at the beginning of this Mass, is about to end, and we prepare to participate in the great Paschal mystery, the passage from death to life of Jesus Christ, the firstborn among his brothers and sisters in faith. We ask the Lord to grant us a heart dedicated to the cause of evangelization, of bringing Christ to others. We are told in the gospel passage we have just proclaimed that shortly before the passion of Jesus, some Greeks wanted to see the Master and presented their request to Philip. This petition on the part of those who represented the Gentiles moved our Lord to deliver a discourse filled with deep revelations. The arrival of those Gentiles seemed to reawaken in him the awareness of the nearness of his supreme sacrifice for all mankind. Our Lord was deeply saddened and said he could ask the Father to deliver him from that hour. But using the image of the grain of wheat that dies in the ground, he proclaimed the great fruitfulness that the sacrifice of Calvary would bring about. The Lord invites each one of us to be that grain of wheat that has to be buried in the soil of society. But we all know that sowing that grain into the furrow of love of God and others requires sacrifice. And that effort becomes heavier as the years go by and the vigor of youth declines. Added to this are the disappointments we reap in this work of evangelization, the lack of interest in others, the lack of response, sometimes even hostility. A heavy tiredness could result from these experiences. And no one is immune to these disappointments that make the change of heart, that make conversion, to which the Church has been calling us throughout these days of Lent, somehow difficult. Because of this, we could be tempted to take the easy way out and concern ourselves only with our own spiritual life. However, we must decide to overcome that comfort, because like the grain of wheat that remains alone if not buried, it distances us from others, making our life barren. There are two small sacrifices among many that are important in dealing with others who, like us, are image and likeness of God. These sacrifices are: 1, listening with interest to those who speak to us, and 2, holding our tongue or keeping quiet when disagreements arise. Listening is not the same as hearing. Throughout the day, many things are heard, but few are listened to. Right now, you can hear my words. I can only hope that you are listening to me. Some people want to impose themselves on others that they do not listen. They only speak. And when they seem to listen, They are only taking a break from talking. And then they respond to what others say by continuing with their previous conversation. By behaving in this way, they show that the other person does not matter. Should we behave in this manner, it would be a surefire way of isolating ourselves from those around us. Besides listening attentively to others, we also need to hold our tongue or to keep quiet and not store up grievances in our hearts. Saint Josemaria Escriva, the founder of Opus Dei, once said in a homily, "Far be it from us to remember who has offended us, or the humiliations we have endured, because it would not be right for a child of God to be preparing some kind of dossier, of report, from which to read off a list of grievances." When we are boiling with hatred because of something that another person has done or said, and the devil takes advantage to suggest that we are slaves to outdated moral principles, let us rein in that furious beast that we sometimes become, and remember this warning that the Lord gives us today. Whoever loves his life will lose it. And also this promise: whoever hates his life in this world will preserve it. These two little sacrifices go a long way in making us the kindly countenance, the merciful face of Jesus for others. In that way, we become true instruments for bringing Jesus to others and others to Jesus.